I just want to go back to something you touched on earlier about the comment about the defenseman in practice
Yeah,
need to outwork or keep up with the goalie. So
yeah,
this is an observation that I've made with
yeah.
defensemen is
Okay.
that if you let's say you're doing like a skills practice, right?
Yeah,
Well, the goalie coach will be down with the goalies. They don't need shooters; like they're doing their own thing, working on goalie specific
yeah.
stuff. And then you look at the forwards,
Right,
right? And they might be doing cutbacks, they might be working on
right,
moving pucks between legs and open space, etc. But they got a whole basket of tricks. Like they don't need any ideas.
right.
But then you have the defenseman.
Yeah,
And it seems like most of the time, the only like individual one-on-one drills you'll see defensemen doing, it's like point shots,
right.
dragging the puck to the middle, shot, dragging the puck to the middle, going D to D, things like that. Like I feel like there's a real gap
Mm,
in defenseman drills or ways on how we train defensemen
mm,
that don't involve just doing either one-on-ones with forwards or dragging the puck to the middle and shooting it.
mm,
And specifically, I think there's an absolute chasm in knowledge on how we can train a defenseman to be a better defender without doing a kind of one-on-one line rush type drill or scenario. And so quite often, I think you make a great point that like of course your best players or the best athletes are going to want to be
mm,
forwards, right? Like why would they want to be a defenseman? Like it just seems like there's a real gap in knowledge, and it amazes me just looking at the evolution of goaltending
mm.
and where that's come from the early 90s till now. I'm like, it just seems like I think it's great what you're doing because if anything, it's just moving the position forward because I just feel like it's kind of been left behind a little bit.
The foundation of everybody's game. There's lots to work on. You can use markers,
Yeah.
bingo markers, paint. There's ways to come up and establish. There's feet work that needs to be done to properly establish feet work. Almost like you could say the right feet work is so important, and how to establish and work that into a skills practice. There's a variety of things but like you said, um, yeah, we want to do the fun stuff, but you want to get better at your own craft, and posture is a big one too. I mean, like we have funneling, and the other visual, I think that, and sometimes on a podcast, but if everybody can understand what a funnel is, and a funnel is something that you put oil in your car and you use a funnel to, it's wide
Yeah.
at the top and it's narrow at the bottom, right? So if we all can understand, what that visual is, and what I see in most defensemen is the funnel's the exact opposite of what it should be. So if you had two defensemen start,
Yeah.
most people would say at the offensive zone blue line, the funnel is wide. And then as they come back into their own zone through the neutral zone, they actually get narrow into their past.
As a
So
D
the D
pairing.
kind of comes back
Yeah.
through the neutral
Got it.
zone. They start getting inside the dots. Then when they cross their own line, they're then by the tops of the circles because they don't know and what to look for and how to establish a gap proper way. And then they actually start playing defense probably around the tops of the circles to the dots.
Mm-hmm.
That's so
I think it's so important. Like they start playing defense then,
that's right.
right? Like, and I think that's a mindset for
And
a
it
lot of
could be, and there's ways to know that, like shots against. So shots against, if they're up, then that's usually the D backing in, and it means their funnel tends to be wide at the start, through the neutral zone narrower, into their zone narrow, and then tops of the circles to the dots, they'll go out and play depending on where the puck is. The proper way is actually to flip the funnel upside down.
Okay.
So if you visualize that, everybody out there, is get narrow early, up and narrow early, not narrow back in your zone.
And is that because I mean, I think we always think of gaps in hockey as like the distance
Distance
of the forwards,
between.
like off a line rush. But I think it's also like it's kind of a game of geometry, right? Like the gap could also apply that one-on-one from like the wall and how you're pushing
Absolutely.
players. Like it's
Absolutely.
not just north south.
It
Yeah.
does. It sort of shapes depending on which side the puck is. But where the forwards want to go, and it's great if you're a D to sit in the forward meeting, I strongly suggest it. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's like when I ask a lot of players or my clients, have you sat in a goalie meeting lately? Well, I haven't gotten a lot of generation. I haven't scored a lot. I haven't doing the so you sat in the goalie meeting. If you grabbed a coffee and sat in the goalie meeting, they have them every day, by the way, I'm sure, or they have them every second day because they work so hard. And if you sat in a goalie meeting, no, well, that's a good idea. Like, let's find out what's really going on with that position and understand and become a student of the game more. So you can sit and just say to the goalie coach, you just want to sit in the back and listen, and you'll pick up some stuff and where they're vulnerable or where they're not. Back to our funnel discussion is it's basically two guys and they draw it out depending on which strong side. But the forwards, if you asked where the forwards want to get the puck early, it's the middle.
Hmm.
Okay, so if you go into the forward meeting all of a sudden, and it's like, well, here's where we want to do. We want to get the puck off the wall. We want a slash and winger. We want our middle guy. We want our fourth guy. But they're coming up through to get the inside of the dots early.
Yeah, they want to
They
skate it
want to
inside the
skate it
dots.
out
Remember?
of the zone
Yeah,
in the middle of the ice, right? So then it forces
makes
your
sense.
own line to
Yeah,
kind of come in. Then they want to kick it back out. So that's sort of the strategy. But now with the defensive systems, everybody's playing five guys on a dyer. They're playing very low from the hash marks down. Not like when I played years ago. It was like everybody's playing the D and 3-on-3 down low. And two guys, if you're a winger, you just turn around to put your back on the puck if you want and just take the defenseman. Everybody's low. So every time the puck changes hands, you can actually come up and in. So if you take that ice early as a defender, only if only because you sat in the forward meeting and they wanted to go there. You didn't know any other reason other than, you know what? That forward coach, he wants our guys to be in the middle. So what happens if we're there and the walls are open early?
yeah,
What would they do? And you don't even have to be, we're not talking Einstein stuff here. We're just talking like, okay, went to a meeting. This is what they're trying to do. Why don't we go there first and see what happens? And if we go there first, we're taking our funnel and making it really narrow early. We're flipping it.
yeah,
Now they have the walls. So as they're skating out of their own zone, they end up going to where there's ice. And the ice is outside the dots on the wall. We're not there. So it's wide open to kind of do that. And then gradually, as we exit the zone, depending on where the puck is, now we open up our funnel the opposite and get to the 45-degree angle and do the rest of it. But now we actually have a decent gap. And then we play the
sure.
strong side. And they realize they're over in that spot by around the red line and go, we don't want to be here.
Yeah,
But that's the only ice. So you give them, go back to the mentality of we play them. So if
play
you're
them.
you
Love it.
we play you, you play them, not them play you. So we go there first, which means you create the gap off the ozone. You get inside and up. You take as much ice early, and we're in a rush to get that ice. They might not even have the puck, but you know they want to go there. I can tell you where they don't want to go is along the
Yeah,
walls where we're stuck.
yeah,
And the middle of the ice and where the fourth D comes into play and the fourth wave, and you can call it whatever you want, and the fifth wave, and you could be from Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, or BC, and it's like you can wave all you want, but if you're waving on the walls, you can go over there. I don't care. But you need to take your funnel and flip it and basically get your D to come up and get inside early, and then basically then act as a pair to vary out. They won't go both ways. It just depends on which side the puck is. So
sure.
that's
But
kind
to
of
stay,
the
yeah,
visual.
yeah,
And but it means that you, if you're really good at it, like Carolina, for example, then they get inside early, and then you can't even get to the red line because it feels
yeah.
like I can't even get to dump the puck. So they basically play a 2-on-2 through the neutral zone and go from there. But they play it tight.
I know you can't necessarily play favorites here. I'm just curious, but like
Yeah.
when I'm watching like the NHL playoffs, I'm like, if you were to tell any defenseman or in our case, like any defensive coach to watch a team, I'm like, go study Carolina because I would say as you talk about that defensive
Yeah.
unit, I don't know if there's a more balanced,
Yeah.
deeper group than they have, but they also just seem to be so in sync on what they're trying to do on the ice, and it's just rinse and repeat every shift. Like it doesn't seem like they're doing anything. They're not splitting atoms, but they're doing it more consistently than anybody else, and seem really clear on what ice they got to take away.
Absolutely. If you're playing them or you're watching them on TV, or you're a defenseman and you're watching those defensemen pick out Burns, pick out somebody, watch them as a kid, watch them playing, watch them as a coach, and say, "Am I there?" Like I've had people that I've worked with that are really good at recognizing, saying, "Wow, I'm not there. I'm actually not, my gap's not even close to that, or I don't even challenge that early." And then you have other players that they might see it and say, "I'm there." And then you have to show them the video and say, "Oh, no, you're 30 feet from there." "Oh, yeah, geez, I thought I was there, but you're 30 feet from there." So it just depends on what you're seeing from your own video. But in Carolina's standpoint, it's the greatest way to play D, because nobody can doubt that Rod Brindamore's team is playing you.
Yeah.
Okay. Like that. If you talk about a mentality, yeah, they're playing us. You're right. You just go out there and stand there, lose the first draw, see them dump in, and then meet the people in the third row after they push you through there. So it's kind of like, because you're going to get forechecked all night, and you're going to get pinched all night, and your gap is going to be so difficult, but there's ways around it, but they know the first couple of symptoms around it. As a team tries to adjust, Rod Brindamore knows what, and almost it's great when you educate your own guys and say, "Hey, watch the flip happen now. Watch this happen." And then the next team on the timeout, you always can get a good read on how you're doing by watching the other bench and seeing the bench boards come out and seeing the rest of it. You've had a good first 10
Yeah,
minutes if your
that's
boards are
interesting.
out, right?
Great
So the
point.
guys
Yeah.
you're watching down, it's like, okay, let's guess at what they're going to do. And if the guys are really schooled well, and the game, or the gals are schooled well, and all of a sudden it's kind of like it comes out, and then they start doing what we just said. So the players on the bench will say, "I bet you, Paul, they're going to start flipping on us." Okay, well, we know what to do there. And then they come out and they start flipping on you. Then the whole bench goes, "Oh, gotcha game. Gotcha anyway."
If you are involved with the Minor Hockey Association that hosts tournaments or multiple tournaments, or you're a coach who operates spring tournaments, or any organization that puts on events, then you're going to thank me for introducing you to Event Connect. Event Connect makes managing and growing your sports events simple and efficient. It literally covers every aspect of the event management, from scheduling, linking out of town teams or visitors with hotel bookings, to capturing registration fees and collecting additional revenue, all on one platform. Best of all, it's free. Event Connect receives a small fee through its payment processor, but there is no upfront investment. I got introduced to Event Connect because several of our league and association partners began using them and raved about the time it saved, how user friendly it was, and the additional revenue they were able to generate. In fact, the feedback was so positive, we began using Event Connect to host TCS Live, our annual coaching conference at the University of Michigan. It was a great decision. I know firsthand how stressful it can be to run tournaments and events, and can't imagine going through that process again without Event Connect. If you want to simplify the process of organizing your tournament or event and tap into new revenue, then go to eventconnectsports.com to book a demo today. Don't go through the painful process of trying to run your next tournament without Event Connect. Go to eventconnectsports.com and get started now.